Hey guys, it's just a spectacular morning. Today, road trip. We are going to go to Western Victoria and check out some of the most amazing stuff. Our own Göbekli Tepe. It's little known. We're going to check it out. I'm just so excited about this. So let's get started. Let's hop in the car. Let's go. Let's go. Some people are going to take me. Unbelievable. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm convinced there was an Ice Age and post-Ice Age civilization in Western Victoria, Australia, which was at something like an Iron or Bronze Age level 11,000 years ago. This civilization is unrecognized by archaeology as even being a civilization. Civilization, traditionally, being a Latin word, implies Romans, but other cultures, of course, have their way of life. I was kindly invited by a fan on an archaeological day trip. I set off with these two climbers, one of whom had a backpack full of electronic devices just in case we got lost. So I knew we would be safe. The objective of this trip was to ascertain the location and, if we could get to, appearance and layout of the landscape around an 11,000-year-old stone circle known today as Wurdi Youang. It is on private property, but we could at least have a look at the general area. It is listed in newspapers as of 2016 as the world's oldest, though I am sure this is up for debate. The name of the circle is Wurdi Youang, and it has been carbon dated to about 11,000 years old based on nearby sites. Let's look at the layout. It's in a plane, and it's actually not really a circle. It has three axes. One points to the summer, one the winter solstice with the equinox in the middle, which is the sunset location when day and night are of equal length. They say there was no agriculture at contemporary Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built about the same time, and that was produced by hunter-gatherers. I totally disagree. Look at the stones. Stone masons. This implies division of labour, which implies a strong economy of producers producing a surplus, which you can't really achieve if you are hunter-gatherers. It's a pretty simple concept. I am sure the priesthood of this temple were not off hunting every day. Let's face it, only a small bit of the general area has been excavated anyway, so why would they have found any evidence of agriculture at all? They haven't even found the city, and I'm sure if there is a big temple there would have been a city, as far as I'm aware. Actually, agriculture is tremendously ancient, far more ancient than is currently accepted. The Amazon seems to be a biotech disaster area caused by ancient genetic manipulation, which then had rising temperatures applied to it. Even a special type of soil called terra preta was invented, possibly by ancient scientists, which is actually a living organism in itself, spreading and growing like the Blob in a Hollywood movie. I did experiments myself with this soil and found that it facilitates epigenetics in plants. That is, genes are switched on and off depending on the soil. You can make a plant immune to or more susceptible to disease by changing the soil. This activates different genes. Different soil causes different growth rates in the plant cycle. I saw the effects myself on bean shoots. Plants actually have immune systems which are switched on and off depending on what you put in the soil. I affirm that humans did not pop up 6,000 years ago and suddenly become civilized as is accepted today. We always were. We just suffered a few setbacks due to comets, changing sea levels and supervolcanoes, which decimated our numbers back into the Stone Ages. We were literally blown back to the Stone Ages many times, but with legends of a glorious past painstakingly retained by wise storytellers, so that we would have the key to return from whence we came. I think we have a duty to our ancestors to investigate their true past. Back to Wurdi Yuang. I think there was agriculture here 11,000 years ago. You don't build a stone circle like this for no reason. It's composed of stones not too large, but still I think built by an advanced people. I feel transplanted from elsewhere on the planet, since they happen to date around about 11,000 years old. And the Great Catastrophe was about 13,000 years ago. These are people travelling around, searching for a new home. What happened 11,000 years ago? Well, it's about 9,000 years before Plato, isn't it? Which is the supposed time of Atlantis. Interesting coincidence. Doggerland, which seems to be preserved on this old European map, as shown in another video, had already begun to recede into the North Sea, probably producing a swathe of refugees. As the sea levels were changing literally everywhere, people had to move around to survive as cities of the Ice Age, based on ruins of the older cities inhabited by giants, were receding into the ocean. I suppose most archaeology of the lost super civilization is now on the continental shelves deep underwater. How do we know there was a lost civilization, at least here in Victoria? Well, some of the Aborigines say so. They say they had a sedentary life here. West Victoria has many lakes which were converted for purposes of eel farming. These eels were then traded for other necessities. There is other evidence. For example, William Buckley. In examining the literature, it quickly becomes apparent there was an actual civilization in Western Victoria at one time. When Europeans arrived, it was already perhaps a shadow of its former self. We can tell this because in the biography of William Buckley, Buckley, he was a convict being employed at the first Victorian colony at Sullivan Bay. It failed in 1803, followed by another at Coronella in 1814, merely designed to stop the French from landing, and then another colony, Melbourne, in 1835, which became a big city. Until Melbourne was established, it was actually assumed that Victoria was barren, dry, with no rivers, so no one really bothered settling here. No one knew about the huge amount of freshwater and also saltwater lakes in Western Victoria. Buckley lived with the Aborigines for about 26 years in Western Victoria. He happened to choose locations around which stone circles once existed. If you read the autobiography written by Buckley, you can see that the civilization had pretty much long decayed. He lived for a time with a peaceful tribe, which was eventually wiped out by another more hostile tribe. So then he lived alone and then joined another. They were semi-sedentary, living sometimes near a lake for years at a time before moving on. There was always trouble about females being kidnapped between tribes, and therefore there was not much peace and a lot of warfare going on. One thing that struck my attention was that Buckley mentioned that when he was out on his own, he was eating a sort of native watermelon, as well as some other berries which he just found in large quantities. I know of no such foods in Victoria. They must have been part of the old agricultural system in Victoria. That's why Wurdi Yuang, this stone circle, pointed out the solstices and equinox. It's for timing agriculture and crops brought possibly from overseas at one time, primitive varieties, the last of which William Buckley was able to consume. I mean, there's no other reason for having that stone circle except for ceremony. You have to know when to plant, when to harvest. That implies division of labour, and that's why I call it a civilization. Another thing pops out of Buckley's biography. He mentions that some joker, as he called him, made a call across the countryside to bring as many stone axes as possible. Now, axes were the currency in both the pre-Columbian Americas as well as Eurasia, in both Stone Age and Metal Age times. In fact, the currency was axes, and ingots were melted into axe heads. That was a form of money and a form of taxation. Buckley stated he never worked out who this joker was. I believe this may have been one of the last gasps of this dying civilization in the 1820s, when Buckley was the only white man in Victoria and the tribe he was in simply ignored the call. Most of the stone circles have been demolished by European farmers seeking building materials. Look at this one, which was located near Derranellum until I think about the 1880s, when it was demolished. One website states that 6 Stonehenges were once located between Derranellum and Camperdown. Both towns have an old extinct volcano next to them, so the worship of Vulcan or Bud would have been associated with the circles. In fact, if you look at this picture, it appears a solstice is occurring and the sun is setting into the volcano, an offering to Vulcan, the earth god. Derranellum is also basically on the same latitude as Wurdi so that means all the astronomical phenomena would be on the same angle, which means they could have directly translated the design of one circle to another location. The circles at Derranellum could have been the same design. There are signs of the ancient UK in Victoria, close to Sunbury, a town northwest of Melbourne. Sunbury is a nice outer Melbourne suburb made up of various glorious hills. When you stand on one, you see ley lines to other hills. Different hills have different so-called earth rings traced out on them. I investigated some several years back. They are really hard to find unless you have the accurate GPS coordinates. The closest analogues I know of are British ring barrows, which might lead to the conclusion that these are built by Atlanteans about the time that the Wurdi circle was established. But who knows? They're all surrounded by houses and new developments, unfortunately. Who knows all the amazing things that these have covered. It makes investigation very difficult. The hills closer to Melbourne probably also had these earth rings, but they are all obliterated. All the hills around Melbourne had a sacred tree on them, just like the trash trees you see on hilltops in Ireland, which are the most primitive form of Christmas tree. These are covered in bras and panties and baby boots and bits of paper with wishes written down on them. Essentially, they're all wishes. Now, we didn't actually get to the stone circle, nor could we see it from the summit of Mount Wurdi, which is too far off. I would urge anyone not to actually go to the stone circle, as it is on private land owned by an Aboriginal corporation. One day, however, it may be open for tourism. If you want to do some archaeological work, however, please feel free to locate the original location of the much larger Derranellum stone circles and any others which may have been lost. They are out there. It will take geophysics equipment and a lot of work to locate the Derranellum circles based on where they used to be, but it can be done. I don't have the time, but others might. Thank you very much.
To like an even older piece is a conglomerate that was stuck in the conglomerate that turned into this metamorphosized rock. I'm not going to argue with you. For the actual tea.
Oh, okay, sure.
Fixation for the
Well, I'd like to drink it now, actually. about it. So now I know why Indiana Jones wears his shirt open. This is the explanation. He's walking everywhere.
Yeah. But he's in an indoor air-conditioned studio with a blue screen.
Okay, I can't work out that paradox. Hi everyone. Hey, guess what? If you want more information about what you just saw, go to my website, charlescos.com, and just go to click articles. And then all you have to do, go down here. I'm calling it the land between the two volcanoes. That's what it was. It's an 11,000-year-old civilization. So if you want to see those pictures that you just saw, just go here, and that's the picture of this lost stone circle. There was another one there. Unbelievable. There's a solstice or something happening. A few more of my videos. This photo as well of Wadi Yuang. So do check that out. I've got a heap of articles on there. Wish I had time to write more, but there's a lot of info on there. Now, here's the thing, guys. Guys, do you want more confidence? I mean, who doesn't need more confidence in their lives? I mean, I don't know anyone on the planet who is fully confident. In fact, no one is fully confident. That's why we need self-help. And we all love self-help. Well, at least some of us do. So I'm selling a course on here for $37, which can make you more confident, which can help you manifest. But here's the thing. I'm selling this for cheaper as well. So I have a Patreon. And on this Patreon, just go to Patreon, go to me, and there's a $10 tier. If you want to help out for $10 a month, you get that course. So what I've written here is what the course is about. So, hello, this tier grants access to the Bluebelt online self-help course, Wisdom of the Ages. This is designed by me to improve your confidence, success, manifestation, and intuition every time you watch it, 100 minutes. This is a bargain. Anyway, you look at it, as it could improve your life dramatically. And people are telling me they've watched it and it's improved their energy. I mean, how good is that? And I've got practical experience in this as well. I'm a member of Toastmasters, and we ran a speechcraft course. This was to help corporates speak better, present better, so they wouldn't flop out in front of an audience with their PowerPoint presentations or whatever it is what they were presenting. So what we did, I was the MC, and we had to take them through a set course and tell them set things as the Toastmaster stipulates. But what I did, I introduced some of my own principles into it, and I'll tell you what, we saw an exponential curve in their growth. So it was slowly, and then boom, in week 4, after 4 weeks, wow, they were speaking better than I was. They went from shy and inhibited to super confident. So I've put some of those principles in here. It's based on ancient Egyptian Hermetic wisdom. If you're interested, check out my Patreon. Keep watching. There'll be a little bit more info about it. Cheers. And so you're not getting a cat in a bag. This is actually it. This is the course right here. So it's 100 minutes. I mean, it is 100